You're very welcome back to our Ladies Gaelic Podcast here on FinalWhistle.ie. Once again, Emma Kelly and Joanne Doonan from Fermanagh join me to discuss everything with the Lidl Ladies National Football League. We've plenty of games from Division 1 all the way down to Division 4. Plenty more games to discuss now this weekend as well. I know you both had a lovely day watching the Antrim and Fermanagh game on Sunday, fairly end to end, and we will discuss later on how that result went. But a very competitive game and an enjoyable one to watch, I think.
No, not really.
First half was pretty good when the sun was out, and then half time the heavens opened, and that was it. Like so, brought a dampener, and I think it woke Antrim up and made Fermanagh's gear an extra heavy that they couldn't keep up. Like, but yeah,
that's a nice way to put it.
The ever-changing Irish elements just really making it an eventful weekend, and with new changes and everything. We've plenty to discuss. I suppose we'll start with Division 1 and we'll work all our way down to Division 4. Galway picking up a win against Armagh, 3-11 to 15 points. Fairly strong result for Galway. Goals, as they say, win games, and we've seen it again that Galway are high-flying it at the top of the table, and another defeat for Armagh, and more pressure on them with relegations. We'll talk about the Dublin and Kildare game as well at the bottom end of the table, and it's looking very close now in Division 1, Emma, but another good result. Andrea Trill and Leanne Cohen bagging the goals for Galway, and still all positive signs ahead from their return to Division 1 this year.
Oh yeah, Galway's just getting better and better the more you watch, and like you could see that Armagh were tiring, and you were looking to their bench to see who they're bringing on and who does Galway bring on. The two Ward sisters, Olivia de Ville and Lindsay Noon, and you're just going. You'd be looking at that if you were the defence going, oh, are you being serious? Like, so just the strength and depth of their squad is unreal. But Armagh, including Blahy Mackin into the starting 15, big bonus for them just to get 59 minutes out of her. You could see she was tiring and was starting to be a bit rash in her tackles, that you were kind of going, she's going to get a yellow here, but luckily enough it was only the last minute she'd been took off. But massive inclusion, she brought in a lot of energy, scored the 2 points, but it was more her vision of and ability to give a good kick pass. Kelly Mallon is in form. That is probably the big highlight for her at the minute. She is totally in form. Her movement was class, and then Blahin's vision to see our movement was able to pick her out, and Kelly, like again, was keeping the scoreboard ticking over. Greg won't be happy as the conditions were crap for both teams, but Galway were getting the ball to hands, whereas Armagh, most of their hand passing seemed to be hitting the ground or ankles, and it was slipping and sliding all over the show. And I think that was probably Armagh's downfall. They weren't cleaner in possession of the wet ball, whereas Galway were clinical. And Aisling Madden obviously gets in in the first 3 minutes. Don't know why she tried to behead Catherine Marley so early on. Like, she left Maggie no choice, and I think that's how Armagh got their heels up. But when Aisling come on, she put in a shift, like. And yeah, it was kind of just the goals. The first goal before half time, Armagh were in the lead, and you're going, right, if we can get into half time and with the lead, and then just Galway seemed to hit like a really good patch that Roisin Leonard popped over a couple of frees, and then that goal, like you can look at it and go, should the keeper have caught it instead of palming it down and then the conceding? But Armagh's kickouts in the first half, again, conditions and stuff, they maybe should have looked for some short kickouts to try and get the possession, because at times they were just putting it up the middle, thinking that Blahin and Laura McConville and Carling would have come out for a few if the kickouts was going to stick, and it wasn't working at all. Like, so I think they needed maybe somebody to give Brianna a shout and say, look, we need to contain possession here, like, and go for some simple kickouts. But Galway just looked unbelievable, like, so definitely going to be contenders in the championship with that bench. Never mind, like, they're fighting for positions. Like, if you look at the forward line, the six of them, and you're going, where's Olivia de Villiers going to go? And then their number 6, I'm not even going to say who it was in case it's the wrong girl I'm naming. She was unreal. And you're going, Nicola Ward will be on the bench going, geez, I might have been player of the year, and then everybody knows she's class, but she was unreal. Like, she was up and down the pitch like a demon, breaking up every play, and you're just going, she has filled that gap that you wouldn't have even noticed that Nicola was missing. Class.
Yeah. And I know we were reading kind of coming into the game about Loughlin coming back and just saying that she was homesick from Australia and was going to commit with our man. Maybe we'll see the same now with Amy coming back as well. I know she's been in the panel, but she hasn't, had that much time to, I suppose, settle in with the squad for the league, and we've seen her out on the field of play. But how big a boost, Joanne, will it be for Armagh if they can have the 2 Mackins for a full calendar year now fit, give them the league just to get themselves right, and then come championship season, they're firing on full cylinders for them again?
Oh my God, without a doubt. Like, the 2 additions of those Mackins, and probably it's like that ripple effect to the rest of the team. Like, yes, of course, they're outstanding players, but like you said, like how to link up with Kelly Mallon, like having those kind of visionaries, like those football brain kind of athletes I always talk about now. In especially in both men's and women's, you have a lot of athlete players, not necessarily always the game sense players or the ones with the football brains, but Amy and Blaine have proven time and time again they're so classy, they're so smart, they're fantastic athletes, they're an all-rounder, and it's going to be a massive boost. Like, obviously it would be probably nicer for Armagh for them to be kind of in Galway's position where they're actually complementing a bit of momentum going forward, whereas they're probably nearly relying on the Mackin and those girls that's kind of been out of the scene to kind of really turn the tables for them now. But look, I do think they are that influential that, like we mentioned at the start, you're not going to be massively worried about them come championship time, but it is something that they probably want to be thinking about, putting a few good performances together before the end of the league.
Yeah, and just going back, Emma, to what you had said about the Galway forwards, obviously Leanne Cohen scored 2-1 the last day, Andrea Trill got a goal, and Roisin Leonard got 4 points. Like, their inside full forward line is looking really strong and potent. Like, of the top 7 scorers in Division 1, I'm just looking at our stats on the website. Like, Leanne Cohen has 4 goals and 3 points so far in the league. Roisin Leonard has a goal and 12, and Andrea Trill has 3-5 so far, and 3 of them are in the top 7 scorers. Like, to have 3 players doing that much damage at this stage, we've only had 4 games in the league. Like, to have players, I suppose, getting that confidence in early, especially it's such a competition like Division 1 where it is very close, and we've had high scoring performances from all 3 to date, that it's very good and very good optimism now for them going into the championship, as you mentioned.
Yeah, like Galway had 8 different scores there, and as we said, just those 3 that you mentioned, like Clodagh McCambridge, she marked 1, and then she got moved on to the other, and then I think it was Grace Ferguson was in the other, but their movement, but their power when they had the ball, and the vision of where each other was making the run was what cut them apart. So it was, and they weren't afraid to take on their shot. Like, there was times that you're going, like, I was a wee bit optimistic, maybe some of the balls in, but they chased it. They knew what was coming, and they were just like, we will take that chance. Like, there was just opportunists at times that they were going right, but they were hungry, and you could see that the hunger's there. But you know yourself, when you're playing with confidence, you want the ball, and you're going to demand the ball, and when that leaves my foot, it's going to go over. Whereas at times, if your head's down and you're low on confidence, it could leave your foot and hit the corner flag. But with these, it seems to be everything they touch is turning to gold. And like, fair play to them for hitting the confidence zone so early on. It's just, can they continue that on? And as you said, bringing the subs on as well. Like, I think they took most of them off to give them a breather, and look, they're still in the top of the scoring zone. Like, so it's just class to see. Like, you want to learn from them. So it's them types of games that you're kind of watching and going, if a young player watches their movement, or even how to strike the ball or to give the ball off and to move again to receive it, how can they create the spaces? Because that's what kind of tore Armagh apart as well. Their movement in that forward line, they never ever took each other's spaces. They were constant dragging them open and creating gaps for each other. And it was just like a class way to see. And normally you'd have sideline screaming on, move here, move there, whatever, but maybe it was happening. But I'm assuming, as Joanne would say, they've got the footballing brain to know where to go and to create those spaces.
Yeah, there might be a bit of a pressure now on Armagh, but look, to be credit, Blythe Mackin got 2 points in her first game back, so we'll see what way she'll progress now for the remainder of the campaign. And obviously Kelly Mallon with 7 points. She's the second top scorer in Division 1, 21 points she has scored in the opening 4 games, so she's been a big asset for them, and would have been, and for a time was, the top scorer in Division 1 over the weekend, until one player had a fantastic afternoon down in Austin Stack Park in Tralee. That, of course, was Katie Quirk, scoring 10 points in Cork's 16 points to 8 results over Kerry in Tralee. And honestly, I just had to just sit there and just go, like, this is sensational stuff. Like, there were 14 points to no score up at halftime with the wind. Cork were just dominant from the word goal. Like, they were just so good at, winning the kickouts and, getting the ball into the forwards to try and have options. And no matter who they gave the ball to, they still caused Kerry an awful lot of hassle. It wasn't just, Katie Quirk has the ball, she's going to put the ball over. And if she did score an absolute ridiculous point from an acute angle in that first half. But like, Leah Hallinan was a very strong ball carrier. Rachel O'Regan as well felt the fire of Kelly McGrath at 1 point from Kerry, and Kelly ended up getting a yellow card for it, and Katie Quirk got a tap over free off Rachel, getting absolutely shoved to the ground just outside the penalty area. But Aoife Healy was very strong in midfield. Grace Muraku or Grace Murphy as well, very strong player from Neva Vaughan, and they just looked so impressive. And the team, Emma, that everyone, even their own county, predicted would be the team that would get relegated from Division 1, are now the only team unbeaten. And if they can get a result against Waterford this weekend, you'd say they have a foot in the final already.
Look, as we said last week, Kerry going to Cork's own backyard, it was never going to be an easy feat. And whenever I was at Joanne's game, I was looking at the Twitter, and it's just like, Jesus, and the first thing is, there must have been a strong wind there. Like, there has to be a strong wind. And then the more you watched and seen the highlights, you were just going, Katie Quirk is literally, any highlight you seen, she was kicking it over from near enough the exact same spot that I was like, am I watching the same thing over and over again? So that's why I'd say to you, like, what was going on? Were they just giving away frees? Were they running that direct at them that they were doing it? But to score 10 points in any game is good, because you can get all the frees of the day and the wind can take them wherever direction, so you still have to put them over. But like, that's still 8-9 different scores, Cork, so clearly they're not relying on just the frees. They were able to cut through in that. But Kerry, we know, had a few debutants, and they didn't start a couple of their normal girls, and then obviously Kate Lynch is out and that too. But they're going to have to learn now how to play without Kate, who's a massive loss. So it's, yes, tough day for Kerry, but is it not better happening now than later on? And to try and get those girls, the baptisms in fire, obviously, throwing them out against a really strong, confident Cork team in their own backyard. Maybe they did something wrong in the manager during the week, and they thought, here, take that, we'll throw you in. But here, like, fair play to Cork. Like, they're just going, do you know what it is? Say what you want about us, and we'll go out and prove it wrong. And it'll be the same now. Waterford Cork's going to be a really interesting game this weekend, because Waterford obviously lost their first one there at the weekend, and they'll be trying to right that wrong. Whereas Cork's just going, you know what it is? Bring on the next player, or bring on the next team, and we're ready for you. Like, so now teams probably were targeting Cork for maybe an easier game over the league, but now they're afraid of Cork coming near them. So fair play to Cork. Like, I know you're depressed and stuff about it still, but
It was more, I don't know, was it depressed or just amazement at just the way Cork played? Like they were just on it from the first whistle. Like they were just hungry to get on every ball, and a bit like that. Like they just had runners that would go forward and they draw the foul and they'd get it, and then you give it to Katie Quirk and she puts it over. And she did get those 6 frees, 2 of which came from breaches. One I thought a bit harsher than the other, and then there was a third one that was given at halfway, even though the same thing had happened for the second breach, but that got brought in for a 20-meter tap over free. So I'm not sure. From my side of it, I thought she just crossed the line and then ran straight back very quickly. But look, it happened, and as you said, it's better to happen now. Kind of reminded me of the Munster final in 23 when Cork beat Kerry down in Mallow. It was a very impressive performance by Cork that day. They raced out of the blocks and Kerry were chasing them throughout, and it was a very disappointing result, but Kerry picked it up in the championship and made it all the way to Croke Park. We won't talk about the All-Ireland final result, but they made it to Croke Park. But look, credit to Cork. The performance was just outstanding. Like Amy Corcoran and Simon McGoldrick going up to get scores alongside their forwards, and then they were able to, they rested a couple of players, then brought them on. So they had the likes of Abigail Ring come on, Anya Terry O'Sullivan came on, and the other players, they were able to use the bench, and they didn't kind of bring players on until the final quarter, whereas Kerry shuffled the deck fairly early. Obviously, Ava Doherty went off for an ACL injury, so that's her, Caught Lynch, and 2 others that are all out with ACL injuries in the space of a month. So you've her out. Daniel O'Leary had played half of Camogie the day before up in Meath, ended up coming on after 24 minutes. Anna Galvin came on at half time. Eilish Lynch went off. I don't know if she went off, it was tactical or whether it was an injury or anything, but she went off at half time, and they kind of started bringing on some familiar faces, but there is other players that Kerry don't have at their disposal at the moment that they'd be hoping maybe by the end of the league they're back, or at least first round of the Munster Championship. But I just have to say all credit to Cork, really. It was just a really good performance, and yeah, it was a tough drive home that day from Tralee, but look, it happens in the league. That's all we can say about it. And obviously Kerry have Galway at home, but that's 2 games now, Joanne, that Kerry have lost on home soil. Like they lost Waterford and Killarney, and they've lost Cork and Tralee. Maybe more disappointed with the way the Cork result transpired than the Waterford one, but now you've Galway, and we've mentioned there about Galway scoring threat, and Kerry have a bit of a defence that's seen a lot of injuries and a lot of fresh faces coming in, younger players now going up against the likes of the 3 girls that are in the top 7 scorers. So it could definitely be a tough afternoon for Kerry on Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a big task for them, and similar to Cork, Galway, like we mentioned, they look like they're just enjoying their football, and I think that's the scary part, that they're beaming with confidence. And I think as a forward, they're the kind of days you love, and they're the kind of games you look forward to when a team probably has those newer faces in. But again, I just don't think at this level there's anyone easy to mark. But it's definitely going to be a big ask for Kerry to turn this around. But again, like you've mentioned, there's a few girls still to come back into the squad. It's not something like, it's early stages. I always say that about the league. Like they're hopefully not, here's me saying this and watch something happen, but they're no mad threat of relegation really. And it probably is just about getting through the few games without those real experienced players, while Galway obviously are sitting second in the table. They're looking to kind of keep pushing on to finish up there at the top. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting week, but hopefully for your sake that Kerry can turn around that home soil advantage.
Maybe I'll stay away from Moss Stack Park this weekend. That's 2 home games I've been at and they both lost. So maybe I'm the bad omen, and I'll stay away. I'll go somewhere else on Sunday to a different game. But one team last weekend to finally pick up a win were Dublin. A very tight game, it has to be said, against Kildare, 35-18 in the end in Balbriggan. Kate Sullivan and Ellen Gribben second half goals. Good to see Dublin getting the likes of Kate Sullivan into the team, and Carla Rowe coming back in as well. And, they did play a little bit of an experience or different 15 again, kind of moved a couple of players around and had a mix of youth and experience. But then you can bring on someone like Kate Sullivan off the bench and she grabs you a goal. Like Michelle Davarin got a goal as well, having started, but the majority of their scores arrived from the bench, Emma. Like, you've seen Carla Rowe got 2 points and Elsa Kearney got a point, and then Kate Sullivan and Gribben's goals both came from the bench as well. So you Michelle Davarin's goal and Niamh Heatherton's 2 points came from the actual starters. So great to see that they ran the bench well and the substitutes took their chances when they came on.
Yeah, Niamh's was a 2-pointer, wasn't it? She scored a good one. But here, that's what you need. Like we've been saying all along that Dublin needed to try and get some of the experienced girls back, but that didn't mean then that you just all of a sudden drop the girls that have been putting the shift in. So it was good then that the time that the management did their job right and got them on when the chips were down to bring that experience on to try and control the game, manage the game, and then ultimately see it out and get the win. But Niamh Crowley was obviously starting. Hannah McGuinness, Jodie Egan didn't start. She came on and she's been one of their main scorers and star players so far. So it's good to see that Dublin got the win on the board, because I think we were all kind of going, oh Jesus, what's going on with Dublin? So it was good, and hopefully now that's the start of some of the more experienced girls getting game time and coming in. But you still have to realise DCU and TUD are still in the O'Connor Cup. You still have the Giles Cup and all that happening. And Dublin have a very young team. So I'd say 99% of them girls are probably all playing college football too, meaning that the management probably are only seeing them on a Friday night and then match day on a Sunday. And it's hard still to get that bit of a blend, whereas a lot of the other teams have older kind of squads in, so that you don't have as many college ballers. So the likes of Carla and that coming in was great to see, just to kind of settle the younger girls down and get them across the line. But they'll be biting at the bit now for Armagh, I think, this Sunday, when they've actually got that monkey off their back.
And from a Kildare perspective, they went in 1-4 to a goal up at half time. Were very strong in the opening half. Then obviously in 60 seconds, Niamh Heatherton absolutely boots the ball over the bar for that 2-pointer, and suddenly things change, and Dublin went through the gears in that second half, and obviously the bench came good and they got their scores from it. Obviously Kildare yet to get a result, are now bottom of the table with that solitary point. They'll be disappointed, Joanne, with how things have gone, but they have their own kind of mix of youth and experience. They have a lot of experienced heads that would have won that All-Ireland intermediate title a couple of years ago that aren't with the squad now, and there's a lot of younger girls, some making their first appearances for the league at the weekend to try and get them over the line for the coming weeks.
Yeah, look, it's always tough. Like 2 or 3 real leaders in the team stepping away can be a massive effect on a team. And look at Division 1 is probably not that place you really want to be having a transition year in, really. But look, like Kildare, obviously it hasn't really fared out for them, and have ran a few teams quite close, but it probably is, they probably are looking now that they probably are at that squeaky bum time, really, where they're looking like, God, it's not looking good in this division. And the next few rounds aren't going to be easy for them either, really. But like you said, it's one of those games like you're playing Dublin and you think you're holding on, and then you see the likes of Carla Rowe and them ones all come on, it is that sucker punch, and really just kind of look at, nobody probably wants to admit it at the time, but you're obviously thinking oh Jesus Christ, how are we going to keep going like this? But yeah, it's a tough battle for Kildare, but yeah, it's just probably not going the way that I'd probably hoped this year.
This weekend, of course, Armagh taking on Dublin. That will be very much a relegation, a 6-pointer at the bottom of the table. Obviously, Kildare are at home to Meath on Saturday, one of 2 games that are done on Saturday. Meath, of course, picked up a win against Waterford at the weekend, won 9 to 10 points down in Dungarvan. Waterford's unbeaten run comes to an end. Meath with a very strong performance in a game that had so many different spells of dominance from teams and so many momentum shifts and subplots and narratives and everything like that. They got the job done. They got the result. They'll be happy with it. No score for Emma Duggan. Waterford kept her fairly quiet, but yet Orla Finnegan gets a goal, and then you've Rachel Cassidy with 3 points alongside Maeve Byrne, and then Marion Farrelly gets 2 points along with a score from Niamh Gallogly. So Meath will be happy, Emma, to pick up the result against Waterford. I think the Daysha will be very disappointed that they've lost a bit of ground now in Division 1 trying to make a final this year.
Yeah, like Waterford, as we said, have been doing brilliant. Nobody probably expected them to be as high up as they are at the time, but Meath obviously would have been disappointed with a couple of their performances, so they would have been earmarking Waterford to say, look, everybody thinks they're class and they're top of the league at the minute, so we'll go out, we need to get this win. And a win's a win, and it's even nicer when it's a 1 point win, no matter how you get it. It's sometimes those hard slugs that the backs are against the walls that you feel a wee bit better with when you come out that side. And to keep Emma Duggan to scoreless is basically something Waterford would probably be more good at then too, going, we kept her scoreless, but yet somebody else stepped up, whereas me to be going, right, well, now we know we're still capable of winning without having our eye on Emma all the time. But Niamh, the captain, Gallagher, class. Like, she intercepted the ball in around the middle of the pitch and she burst forward and she got on the end of that score again. And it was just a leader's score that they needed to just go, do you know what it is? We're still full of energy. We're coming for you and we're going to see this out. So Niamh, it's just a complete captain's role that she played and her performance. But yeah, I said Emma didn't score, but Emma was still creating the spaces and being very, being the leader, being the creator. So her coming out away from the goal to create the space for somebody else is just, as Joanne would say, the football and brain. If somebody's going to be trying to double up on you to make sure you don't score, what do? Take them out of the way. So now it creates a gap for somebody else. But brilliant points on the board for me. And to be honest, Waterford would probably be got it that they didn't get a draw. Never mind the win, but at the same time they'll be going, do you know what it is? As we said about the Cork Kerry game, maybe a loss now at this time would be good, because you don't want to be getting complacent that you're just running around and being happy-go-lucky and everything's working out for us. Maybe you needed that wee bit of a kick up the arse to go, well, actually, we still need to go and work on this. So, but good game all around, like.
And just to, a stat for Emma Duggan, I would have seen it. Fergal Lynch, the sports editor of the Meath Chronicle, had it up on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, this week, that Mary Kate Lynch was announced as having signed a contract in Australia to go down and play there over the summer, and that when she heads away to Australia, that Emma Duggan is the only player left that started that final in 2021. Meath have had a massive turnover of players since then, but are still, really good and are still putting those performances up, Joanne. And they've got another result, and there's a couple of games left, and there's not much separating them from a Cork or a Galway at the top end of the league table. So if they can build the confidence and get a couple of results now, we could see Meath heading for a Division 1 final later this year.
100%. I even when you're calling that out, it's not the dream, that there's such a turnover of players, but obviously the culture and the standards that was instilled from them really good years has really held true to those young girls coming through, because they've still a ridiculously young team, and even that 2021 team was so young. And yes, obviously a few girls might have retired, a few girls going to Australia, as you mentioned, but yeah, again, I always talk about culture, and I think anyone that wears their county jersey always wants to leave it in a better place, and I think that just really holds true for me, to really still be competing and still proving a point that they're well able to be there. Like, they proved it in championship last year too, and just narrowly missed out like that. Even now, it's like you said, a win next week could put them in a very, very nice position coming into the league final, or potentially getting into the league final, to have that ripple coming into the championship as well. like Emma mentioned, I just love seeing different scores score, and like you said, taking a player like Emma Duggan out of it and her having the, I suppose, unselfishness to, like, I doubt she gives a shit that she didn't score, you know, but as long as the team got the win, what it was like, and she has that capacity. If she runs with intent, she's gonna drag defenders, even if it's for a split second, to give her teammate an opportunity to have an extra second to settle and get the score. And I just think, yeah, it's just, you love watching teams like that, and yeah, it's a credit to me what they've done over the last few years to do that.
Well, Waterford will certainly be disappointed. I know Kellyanne Hogan got 3 points along with Emma Murray. It looks like both of them had kind of started in around the midfield together, but Waterford are a very strong team and obviously play Cork this weekend to try and turn things around. There's only a point separating them in the league table, of course, going into this weekend. We'll just take a look at that league table. Cork sitting on 10 points at the top, 3 wins and a draw from their opening 4 games. Galway in second with 9 points, with Waterford in third. Only 3 points of score difference keeps them apart. Meath in fourth with 6 points, along with Kerry in fifth on 6. Armagh are in 6th place on 3 points. Dublin in 7th on 3 points. Score difference separating them, of course, both play each other this weekend. And then Kildare at the bottom of the table on 1 point. That brings us to the Division 1 fixtures for this weekend. On Saturday, Kildare host Meath at 5, while Cork entertain Waterford under lights down in Páirc Uí Rinn at 25-8. Then on Sunday, Armagh take on Dublin at 2 o'clock and Kerry host Galway at the same time of asking there.
So Saturday night, our game in TG Cahir is the Cork game. That'll be a good one.
Looks like it. I'd imagine, hence the 7:35 throw in and not 7:30. That it is scheduled for TV coverage, but haven't seen anything confirmed on that just yet. But I would imagine Cork and Waterford top of the table, clash under lights, and Páirc Uí Rinn will definitely be one to watch on TG Cahir. Of course, we had a good few games streamed at the weekend, and a very entertaining game was the game in Father Tierney Park. Cavan winning 1-6 to 7 points against Donegal, and it's the team that have come up from Division 3 that are starting to look like one of the front runners to get promoted and maybe make a league final they will make a league final and get promoted, should I say, but they look very, very strong, do Cavan. They look like a team very composed and just have absolutely taken it in their stride. That's the first loss that Donegal have had. Cavan remain unbeaten, Emma, and all credit to them. They had to weather a little bit of a storm against Donegal, but a 2-point win and a big result for them in the end.
Yeah, especially travelling to Donegal as well, like in their own home patch. But look, as we said again last week, Cavan, that would have been to see how they truly were getting all along. The Donegal Tyrone result, we were kind of going, right, did Tyrone have a bad day, or was Donegal really that good? And then Cavan go out and beat Donegal. But again, we keep going back to the experienced girls. Like Aisling Sheridan is massive for Cavan, and we're talking about people going to Australia. She's come back from Australia and has brought that professionalism with her, and this is what we need to do and this is what's expected, and she's brought all those girls along with her. And obviously our club had a really good run as well this year, so the confidence is just flowing out of Cavan. And see, to be honest, Cavan underage has been unreal at Ulster and All-Ireland level at minors for the last 3-4 years. It's been Cavan have been the top team in Ulster, and I think they won the All-Ireland at underage the last number of years too. Like, so they do have like a lot of good youngsters coming through, and it is great to see. It's the same as Meath. Meath have been very good at their underage, and now it's great to see them transition through. But it takes those kind of experienced girls, like Emma Duggan's probably not one of the oldest girls around Meath, but their experience is there, and all them girls look up to her and lead to her. And it's the same now with Aisling and Sinead Green and all those. And they're trying to bring all those young girls along and say, this is what it's like to play for Cavan. Be proud to put on this jersey, and this is how we're going to go, and we're going to show them we're good enough. Why can't we get to Division 1? Why can't we beat Donegal? So they'll be again targeting that as if to say, right, well, we're at the top. next team, let's come at it, and they'll take it game by game. But they're fearing nothing at the minute. And as we said, they're enjoying their football. So all the teams that people probably had no expectation of this year, the Corks, the Waterfords, now Cavan, are the teams that's actually letting their hair down and going out and enjoying their football, and it's all kind of just clicking for them. So it's great to see. Now James obviously won't be happy in Donegal because James is never happy when they lose anyway. But the one thing that I'd said about was stop conceding stupid frees, because they seem to always concede them, and I don't think they conceded many. I don't think there was any scored from a free anyway. So that's obviously a bonus by Donegal. But again, you have Suzanne White still scoring 4 points there for Donegal, and a few of the younger girls, Katie Dowds again had another brilliant game for them. But tight encounter, so it's good to see that the Ulster teams are all competing at a high level in Division 2 with Tyrone, Donegal and Cavan pushing on.
Yeah, I don't think they did get a score from a free. I know Donegal got a couple, and they had a free at the end that was an Eva Gallagher free that just kind of dropped in. It was flicked over for a point, but it ended up getting ruled out for a square infringement. And then down the other end, Ashley Sheridan puts the ball over, and it's effectively the final score of the game. And Cavan get the points. And like you look at Ella Sheridan has 14 points so far in the league campaign. She's been very impressive for them. And Niamh Kennigan has 2 goals and 7. She got a goal the last day as well for them, Joanne. So good result for Cavan. I know Donegal will be disappointed to have lost the game, but I suppose we spoke about it last time out, kind of with the way that we're talking about Tyrone losing to Donegal, that while you lose a game, probably not the worst thing either, just to kind of get the mindset right that, yeah, they started really strong, winning 3 games in a row, but you after being beaten now, it's like, okay, we weren't an indestructible force, and now we can kind of right those wrongs for the remainder of the campaign.
Yeah, there's no doubt you learn more from losses. Like, it's very easy to gloss over things that didn't go right when you win, because you're kind of thinking, oh, we won. It's not obviously that important. But, obviously when you lose, everything's emphasized and everything's highlighted that, we need to fix this, and this. But yeah, it's a good time of year for them to get it. And look at like it was obviously a low scoring game, but it also emphasizes the importance of every single score at that level. Like, when even the difference in that free kick that wasn't counted, it obviously can make a difference in this division. But yeah, like Emma mentioned, like it's a credit to Cavan, like what they've kind of instilled, and I think they've a lovely blend of experience and youth like coming through. But like again, what Emma mentioned, the Cavan youth is fantastic. Like, and I always say about like, you're talking about belief and confidence and instilling that in teams, but winning is the only way that you can actually really instill that belief. Like, and it's not just like, fake it till you make it, and I really believe we can do it. Like, you back it up by action, and Cavan are really backing that up at the minute. And look, they're literally only promoted. They're top of Division 2. Like, they couldn't be in a better place. But yeah, like I'd say Donegal are disappointed. Close margin game, a lot of learnings. They weren't hammered. They probably will just learn fairly quickly before this weekend again.
From the game to there to arguably the game that had one of the craziest finishes of the weekend between Tipperary and Monaghan. Tipperary in at the break, leading 1-11 to 1 point. And then right at the death, Rosemary Courtney has a score. Looked like a 2-pointer, was a 1-pointer. Could have been a goal as well, with the way that the effort just kind of reverberated off the crossbar. Could have gone into the net. Put them into a 1-12 to 1-11 lead right at the death. And then in the 69th minute of the game, Tipperary's Emma Morrissey manages to point a free to level the game. 1 point for Tipperary in the second half. It was crazy to look at that game back. And I'm sure, Joanne, that like Monaghan will be kicking themselves that the 2-pointer that it looked like a 2-pointer. I'm not saying it was a 2-pointer. From the angle I'm watching the video back, it looked like she was outside the arc. It wasn't something that helped them win the game. And Tipperary will be disappointed that having held such a big lead in that first half, that they didn't see the game out.
Yeah, like look at I know the conditions at the weekend. Obviously didn't get watching the game, but I feel like every game this weekend was a tale of two halves, but that was certainly, a second half performance by Monaghan. And I have to agree with you, watching it back, it definitely looks, I know I'll be arguing for the 2-pointer if I was on Monaghan's team. And I like again that it is the rules that if it's not touched and it bounced over, it is 2 points. Yeah, so yeah, again, I don't know what could come of that realistically. But I'd say if anything, Monaghan are probably more disappointed that they allowed Tipperary to get back up the field to give them the chance to equalise it, and that's probably the frustrating part for them. Obviously, Tipperary could look at it on the other side of the coin and be thinking, how the hell did we let them back into that game? But what it just is one of those games like you look at Cavan Donegal, how low scoring in some aspects, and for Monaghan to come back from such a deficit is it shows the difference in two halves and never say die attitude. But yeah, what a game. Yeah.
From our resident referee here, Emma, like how hard is it to judge where the 2-point arc is and where the ball is actually struck from? Because ref look fairly close and you've lines people that can see it, and obviously umpires behind the goals see it as well. And we did have one in Tralee where it looked like, I think it was Anna Galvin who kicked it, that she was outside the arc, but they had waved the orange flag that it was a 2-pointer, but then the ref had to go in after and be like, no, it was actually a 1-pointer. Like, is it very difficult for officials just to see exactly where the foot is planted before someone manages to strike it?
Yeah, obviously from watching the video, like she was outside when she struck it, like, but from doing so, because I'm not the national referees, I don't have to do the 2-pointer rule, but because I did the linesperson's course and stuff for the league, like they've said the linesperson should be up with play too to try and help the referee say, well, yes, they were outside the 2-point arc. And the referee, obviously, fitness levels need to be more up to speed this year too, because it is far faster. So they need to move up and be there and play too. So I'm not sure whereabouts the referee was when it happened, but the umpire, they can't see from where they're at. Like, but I know if I was Rosemary Courtney and it was me, I would have been screaming I was outside the arc, like, unless she forgot all about it herself. But you would think somebody would have been shouting, that's a 2-pointer, like, and questioning it, that then at least it would have been looked at. So, like, for me, I'd be appealing it. If it wasn't me managing, I'd be appealing it, because obviously it happened. So they should have had an extra point. It ended up in a draw, but it's in video. So appeal it and see. Like, you might as well chance your arm. It's €100. Chance your arm. If you get it, you get it, because Monaghan will be looking at it going, well, it could help us later on in the league to maybe stay up if the shit hits the fan somewhere else. So yeah, but like 13-point lead, Tipperary will be kicking themselves. But Leanne McGuire got a 2-pointer, Chloe McBride got a 2-pointer. We've been saying they're starting to click now. And Cora Courtney comes on, like, Cora. Like, who else could you bring on that's actually going to drive at the teams, create some of the scores, but also get some of the frees? And, like, if there was anybody in the sideline, you're kind of going, right, well, Cora, get on here, sort this out, control the game, get us back into the game, just be bringing other people into it. And to me, Tipperary would be the team, they'll be going up the road going, how to under God did we allow a 13-point deficit? Like, be caught up on us. Never mind going, we actually should have lost that because they got a 2-pointer. So you can look at it both ways, but to me, Monaghan will probably appeal it. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they still get the 1 point. But sure, no harm in trying. Like,
we spoke about, Armagh getting, Blackie Mackin in and other teams getting in those big players. Like, how big, Emma, is it for Monaghan to get Cora back? She's kind of been in the wilderness for a while, and I seen the name on the team sheet and she was on the subs. I was like, is that the same person that I think it is?
Yeah, look, we all know Cora's an unreal footballer, as she's an engine to go for. She can win the freeze, and she'll do her role. So she could play probably anywhere in the pitch, whether it be half back, midfield, in the forward line, whatever. And she's somebody that I know if she came in and it was the last game of the league and was like, here, I want to play, you would take her in and say, look, yeah, come in, because the experience there itself, and all them young girls were probably growing up looking at her going, Jesus, Cora Courtney, half of them's probably shit the bed and they don't want to mess up because she's there. So, and then Rosemary's probably going off, I mess up too, because she's going to ear rig me on the way home. So, but no, massive boost for Monaghan, and you never know, maybe that's something there that can drive them on for the last couple of games and then get on to the championship.
Big draw elsewhere between Tyrone and Mayo. Tyrone 2-7 to Mayo's 1-10. Mayo down 2-1 to 1 point at half time. 2 goals by a goal, should I say, from Gormley got one. I think Aaron McNamee got another one for Tyrone, and they looked very strong in the first half. Started to wilt in the second, and Mayo, you look at substitutes, like they brought on Sinead Walsh at half time. Sinead Walsh just had a field day in the second half from their perspective. They got Lisa Cafferty back. I think that's a big addition for Diana O'Hora to get Lisa back into their team and to have her. And Fiona McHale in midfield as well. She started that game. I think that was two very key players to have back in their squad. But Tyrone really tired. It looks like in the second half, and Mayo just came right back into it, and like Niamh O'Neill had scored late on. It looked like it was going to be the score that might have sealed the deal for Tyrone, and then Lisa Cafferty grabbed 2 late points and honours even 8 finishes. So a big result there, Joanne. Tyrone could have won it, didn't win it, and having, again, we spoke about teams building a good halftime cushion, but all credit to Mayo coming straight back. Sinead Walsh with 6 points and Lisa Cafferty with a goal and 2 coming off that bench.
Yeah, massive impact from the bench for Mayo. And again, another game of 2 halves, like completely different halves, 6 points down. Yeah, I think this weekend really just shows like how anything can change. Like it doesn't matter where you're sitting at halftime, like be it the weather or be it the good tactical changes from management. But yeah, look at to have Sinead Walsh coming back in again. It's one of those things that you see her coming on as Tyrone defence, and you're like, oh Jesus, But I would imagine that Tyrone are kicking themselves for not being able to see that game out. They probably had a wee bit of a need to kind of redeem themselves after the last few weeks, but it is something that they're probably looking back thinking that should have been a 3-pointer instead of a 1 point, for us on the table. But look at, I feel like Mayo aren't going away, and they're proving that they might have started off a wee bit ropier than they initially had planned with Diane's side, but getting those few girls in would be a massive boost for them.
Absolutely. And like you look at Tyrone would be disappointed by it, and I know obviously they're making the step up to senior football this year, and the last 2 results against senior teams, a loss and a draw, probably a good learning curve, Emma, for them at this early stage in the league, just to get things right and get themselves motivated. They did very well in the first half, but it was just, as we said there, like Sinead Walsh and Lisa Cafferty, once they got in the groove in the second half, they really changed the narrative of that contest.
Yeah, it seems to be that every game's a complete game of 2 halves at the weekend there. But I seen an interview by Niamh O'Neill, and Niamh being Niamh wasn't too happy that they didn't see the game out. Whereas then you seen an interview by Diana O'Hora, and she was just thrilled to get across the line and travelling up, and she kind of highlighted the college's football is hindering their girls because they have a big mix of the young and the experience there, but it seems to be not doing them any harm, because you don't want to be burning them out either, having them out every night of the week. So it's trying to play smart with that. But yeah, look, it's good for Tyrone to be learning at this stage before they go into the senior championship, because it looks like they're safe in Division 2. That they obviously would have been looking to push to win the division, but at the same time, you would rather learn now and stay in Division 2 than push on, and then you get all the hard learnings later on in senior championship when you do come up against the Kerrys and all that. Like, so look, it was good to see Sorsha back. Cara McNamee has been scoring freely for them. And Aoife Horsk, obviously, we know what type of athlete she is. But it was good to see Emma Jane get back on the scoreboard. Hopefully that'll get her motoring again, because normally you would have seen her, but I don't think she's been on the scoreboard much this year. And then Niamh, I think everybody was shocked to see her back in her own half defending as well. So she just kind of says it's the type of game it is like. But as I think Niamh is better running with the ball and the head up than able to create the spaces, because, as I say, she can finish that pass out the way. But here, I'd say both teams will be happy enough with the point instead of losing it. But Tyrone will be saying that that's one that's got away from them. Like, but here, it's going to be tight. Like at the end, the draws are going to come back, and somebody's going to go see that 1 point. It bit us in the arse as it comes to it. So it'll be good to see now at the end where Division 2 is going to line up.
Yeah, and like you look at elsewhere, then Westmeath getting their first win in the bottom of the table clash with Wexford, winning 4-10 to 113, built a nice little lead at the break, the 2-5 to 8 points, and kicked on then in the second half. Obviously, 2 goals and 2 points from Sarah Dillon. She's been such an impactful force for them in the forward line. Lucy McCartan gets a goal and a point, and the other goal arrives from Caoimhe Kilmurray as well, along with kicking 2 points. And Vicky Carr gets a point there. Katie Kilmurray gets 3 points, and Sandra McWade gets a score as well. So good spread of scores for Westmeath, Joanne, but I suppose the most important thing for them was to finally get the 3 points on the board after the way the previous games had gone.
Yeah, look, at obviously both teams probably would have had the same attitude going into that game. That this was probably the must-win game for them. But yeah, like you said, like Sarah Dillon, I love watching her play. Like, fantastic footballer. Like, and I nearly love to see them do well. I don't know why, it's just such a random theme, but I just feel like she's a very classy footballer, and again, a few very good football brains in that team, but just probably haven't been able to string those wins together. But again, they'll probably just be delighted to get the first win on the board, and unlike the other games, we're able to maintain that lead at halftime and really push on from that. And I have to mention, even with the addition of Mayo Star in the Wexford side, Aileen Gilroy, I was giving her a wee touch about that this week, that she was joining the Wexford side, which would be obviously a massive addition for them if and when it comes to championship time. So yeah, it could have been a different story, but Westmeath just seemed to really just hold on and stay strong through that second half and get the first win on the board.
No points on the board for Wexford so far, Emma. They're running the risk of a relegation threat at the moment. I know that they've had change of management and a couple of other things, and missing a few players as well. That it's looking like Division 2 has been quite a harsh landscape for them, but they are a team that if they can get things together, we can see them pulling a few results, but just not going their way so far.
Yeah, some of the results so far has been tight on them, whereas some of them it's like a scoring spree on them as well. As I said, it's all right saying, oh, we're getting our scores, we're pushing on, but again, conceding 4-10. Like any management coming in, you look at strengths and weaknesses and what we can improve on and stuff. So tactically, they need to tighten up that defence, whether it maybe Eileen's the player there that'll maybe go into centre half back or something like that to try and shore up the defence and a wee bit of athleticism and read the game and break on out at power and stuff like that. But I think they're in big difficulties now, and their backs are going to be against the wall because they have a couple of tough games still coming up that you're kind of going, are they going to have a chance here? It's going to be a couple of shock results to see them get out of here. But like, as we know, Division 2, you're coming up against top class teams, and if you're going through any sort of transition, whether it's a new management, new squad, whatever it is difficult. But at the same time, you kind of need to be doing the simple things right. And if that's just from stopping the other team maybe getting 4 goals against you and a couple of points, it would benefit you. But it doesn't seem to be going their way at the minute.
Yeah, and like after that very busy round of action in Division 2, this is how the league table looks. Of course, we mentioned Cavan unbeaten so far, top of the table on 10 points. Donegal in second on 9, and Mayo in third with 8. Then we have Tyrone in fourth and 7, Tipperary in fifth with 4, Monaghan in sixth with 4. Westmeath finally get on the board. They're in 7th place with 3 points. And bottom of the table, we have Wexford. That brings us to the fixture list then for this week. Wexford at home to Tyrone at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Cavan host Monaghan at 2. Mayo host Donegal at the same time. And Westmeath entertain Tipperary. We'll move quickly to Division 3. Clare with their first win in Division 3, defeating Laois 4 goals and 7 points to 2-11 down in Clare Castle after 2 previous home games didn't go their way. They finally managed on the third time of asking to get a result, a big result against a Laois team, of course, that made the All-Ireland Intermediate final last season. And Clare scoring 3 goals in that first half, a very strong start for them. Lauren Conway, then Ellie Hanrahan, and a penalty from Chloe Maloney. But yet they still went in at the break behind as Laois were leading by 2 points, 1 goal and 9 to 3 goals and 1 point. But credit where it is to Clare, Joanne. They went through the gears in the second half and got a much needed result, and a result that now lifts them out of the relegation zone.
100%. Like, I think them early goals obviously gave them, I suppose, that wee bit of bite that the game wasn't getting away from them, even though, obviously 4 scores to 10 of Laois's scores, but obviously the goals were just keeping them in that game, and they were obviously able to really push on in that second half and keep chipping away at the points, and even to get that last and final goal just to kind of really sucker punch Laois's first half scoring. But probably, and I'll be honest myself, probably unexpected the way Clare had been going. And I suppose maybe Laois gets that wee bit of credit from maybe being a senior team 2 years ago, and maybe they are always kind of seen going in as the favourites. And maybe that's a good thing for Clare that nobody was expecting them maybe to pull out a win like that. But it's definitely, it was probably no similar to ourselves. They were probably in the position where they really needed to get a win on the board, and when they sealed them few goals early on, that they were probably like, this is our opportunity and this is the game that we're going to do it. So yeah, look at I would say Clare is very happy to kind of turn those tables and get a win, especially at home. And Laois will definitely be looking at themselves as well as ourselves to try and really right the wrongs from last week for this week coming.
And I know Clare have had very much of a transition period since that All-Ireland final back in 2023. They've lost a lot of players, a lot of big names to depart the panel, and they've had to rely on a lot of younger players to come in. But like the older players in the squad have really, shown that their experience in the Clare jersey over the last couple of years. Like, Chloe Maloney has a goal and 17 points so far in the league. She got a goal and 5 the last day, and like the likes of Ellie Hanrahan, who plays club with her in Kilmurray or Brick, and like can learn off of the those kind of older players in the squad. I'll probably get a message off Chloe saying I'm not that old when she listens back to the podcast, but like, to be fair, Ellie Hanrahan gets a goal and 1, and those younger players are starting to develop, Emma, and they're starting to get that experience. And while those first couple of games were very tough, from the loss up in Antrim to the 2 home games, the way that the down game had progressed, and obviously the Loud game as well, that to finally get those 3 points on the board now and target the next 3 games and say if we can get a win or 2 here, we'd be safe. It's probably a much needed confidence boost for Clare.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like if you were going to mess up, you would want to mess up in the first couple of games so you have time to rectify it. And as I said, like there's not many names in the squad that you would recognise, like Lucy Parr and Harvey and Kiva Harvey and that. Like, so you're kind of looking at look, it is pretty fresh, it's pretty new, it takes a while to transition. You're coming up against the likes of Antrim that were full of confidence coming in and had nothing to lose, and the same with Louth. They're physical, nothing to lose, let's go for it. So it does take a time to settle and to push on. So it's good to see the likes of Chloe is there, and she's in the scoring pad and pushing on. But like Laois probably thought, we'll play with the wind in the first half and we'll go at them and then we'll defend for our lives in the second half. Whereas Clare just went, well, do you know what it is? We'll carry this through hands and we'll get our goals in the first half, because what's the point in shooting and losing the ball away? We'll get it in close enough, and if we hit it lucky, we hit it lucky. If we have to fist it over the bar, we'll do it. But that's what settled them and gave them the belief then in the second half. They're going, you know what it is? We can go now with the wind. The wind will never win you a game. It could lose you pretty handy, yeah, if you don't use it right. But at the same time, they just said then, right, you know what it is? We'll control this game because we have the wind at our back. It's obviously easier when you have the ball going with the wind than coming with it battering at you, especially with your heads and confidence down. So it was a good confidence boost for Clare to go, do you know what it is? This is our game to lose here. Laois has got the backs against the wall, and it was good to see that they actually went out. But again, it's completely blew it open now in Division 3, that you're going, right, well, if Clare go and win their next game, that's Laois in difficulties and Fermanagh in extra difficulties and whatever else. So you're kind of going, it's like that result, probably nobody expected it, and it's blew it wide open. So,
and then you look at another game. Obviously, Laois will be disappointed, and we'll look at the league table shortly, and obviously the fixtures for this weekend as the league now reaches its business end. But Down continuing their winning ways with a 112 to 2-6 result against Roscommon, and there's been quite a lot said about this game. Not so much the result, where the game's played. Obviously, the game went ahead in Cherryvale and Belfast. Down had said that due to rainfall that the game was moved. There was an under-20s game played the night before, and that the pitch was available, and there's been a lot said about it and a lot of comments made about the game having been moved to Belfast and so on and so forth, Emma. But obviously you were at the game that Joanne had played in on Sunday as well. That was an Astro. No dugouts provided for the teams. I know they mentioned the dressing rooms as well. I wouldn't be too familiar now with that venue in Belfast as to whether it's up to the standard for hosting a game to have the dressing rooms, but there's been quite a bit of chatter about the venue. Obviously, we had seen the game that was down in Clare in the Camogie between themselves and Wexford. Dean Goodison had a picture up of that, and there was so much talk about that. That should have been on in the Astro that the Clare ladies played on Sunday, but it didn't go ahead, and the pitch was, to be fair, if I had livestock, I wouldn't have put them out on the pitch. Never mind, asked girls to run around and play Camogie, because it could have caused injury. There was injuries for Roscommon, and Roscommon were left fairly frustrated by the venue, Emma. There's been quite a lot of chatter about it, and I think Roscommon won't be the happier. Down will be delighted they got a result, but Down have certainly stirred the pot.
Yeah, look, Cherryvale's a council-owned pitch. It's where Breda would play out of. Yep, it's 3G. There's no there's no dugouts. Change rooms are basically council changing rooms that, yeah, they're not top notch, like, but again, they're probably better than some clubs you would go to at the same time. Whereas, yeah, Fermanagh and Antrim, again, they had no dugouts either, like, but like injuries could happen, and they were like, I highly doubt Roscommon are training flat out on grass at this time, because like Joanne, I don't know, are you training on grass all the time? I know Antrim's training at the pitch that you played at tonight. So like the weather has been crap. You're hardly going to get a grass pitch all the time. And if Roscommon travelled up on the Saturday to stay, would they not have rather the game to go ahead on a 3G than to go, actually, it's off altogether and let's just drive back home and you have to come back next week? So you can look at it both ways. Injuries, I don't know. Is he blaming the 3G pitch for it? Did they not have the right boots with them? Like, do you know what I mean? Because, like, Joanne, would you come with both sets of boots, like your studs and your moldies? And like we all know, yes, 3G pitch, there's studies out there to say, yes, girls will pick up more injuries on it and things like that. But like majority of people are training on 3G pitch at the minute now because they've no other option. There's a lot of college games on them too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think, like we're training on 3G, obviously can't really get grass pitches, and I understand clubs and all obviously are trying to protect their grass pitches, but I do think there has to be some level of standard, like as in the showers weren't working after our game, like so we had to travel 2 hours down the road not having showered after a game after being absolutely soaked. I do think, like I was joking with you before, but like you laugh about equality, and don't get me wrong, I think obviously the demands of women's football in some counties, mightn't be up to the main standards or whatever they might think, but the bare minimum of, I think, pitches and having showers and having dugouts, I think there has to be a level of standard that, it's completely unexpected. Like girls are literally going home, freezing cold, having to fucking do everything, get their stuff packed for work in the morning, and yet have to think about freaking showering and all, wasting more time, like not even heating up, not recovering right. Like just things that, men would never have to consider, and I think that is just bare minimum. I don't think, well, correct me if I'm wrong, again, I don't know what Roscommon are complaining about, but like, I would imagine it's more so literally the standard of like, I don't know, I think.
Was it their time of being cold and stuff? Like, was that what it was? Or was it because they were given the wrong postcode? Or like, to me, I would just Google map it. Like we're playing in Cherryville, Google map it, away I go. But again, if you're coming up from Roscommon, maybe they were just going by what they were told and trusting what they were told. But like, I don't know maybe they didn't have showers or hot showers or whatever. So it's when you plan for something and then it changes, all of a sudden you kind of go, right, okay, a bit annoying. I know I would have, like, I know some of the Antrim girls were coming out of your game, Joanne, going, Jesus, it's Baltic, and they were only going 5 minutes down the road. Like, so for you to be driving the whole way home drenched to the skin and not having hot water and for showers and stuff, it is a bit of a joke. Like, so, but yeah.
But again, I don't think it's even like I'm near sure in Fermanagh, if our grass pitch isn't available, we have to have a 3G pitch that is available, but I would have assumed that 3G pitch would have had to be up to a certain standard. You know what I mean? Like typical, like men's games can't be hosted if there's not a big enough stand or there's not public toilet. You know what I mean? Like, is there not a checklist for ladies' games to be like, has it dugouts? I don't even think anyone even checks if they freaking have showers in the change rooms. They don't even go that far. You know what I mean? But at least that. Don't get me wrong. I am definitely of the opinion, like, get the game bloody played. You don't want to be coming back down the road. I get that. But I think even I don't think clubs at the minute are helping things because nobody wants to give their club grounds because it's going to get ruined. I do think there's probably a bigger issue at play there. But in my head, I'm kind of like, if they're talking about integration in a few years, where are they pulling? Nobody's willing to help at the minute. So where are we suddenly going to gain all these pitches out of to be able to play the men's games, the hurling, the camogie, the ladies football all at the same time, and all technically give everybody an equal, I suppose, quality of pitch, So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it fares over the next few years.
I think there was a few bits
definitely went off tangent.
No, you're dead right. You're absolutely dead right. But I think there was a couple of things all right that Roscommon had said. Obviously, I think they'd stayed in Dundalk the night before and they were given an air code, then went to the air code, it wasn't the pitch, had to drive around Belfast, and then despite setting off early from Dundalk, only arrived 40 minutes before the game had taken place. Then they had mentioned the dressing rooms, the lack of dugouts. Again, the weather that ye had in the second half against Antrim, we'll touch on that in a minute. I think they got it as well. So again, you're standing on the side of the pitch as piss and rain down on top of players. I think one of their girls had gone off injured as well, and there wasn't an ambulance at the game, so that she couldn't get looked at. And then there was nothing that she could sit on the side of the pitch. So she was there kind of, what do I do? Because after picking up an injury, I'm not sure which one of the girls it was, but I know that they did pick up a couple of injuries. Quiva Lennon, Kate Nolan, and Rosie Lennon all picked up knocks and had to leave the field to play. So there was a multitude.
Kate Nolan's only back from injury and they lost her again.
Yeah, I think it's the other knee as opposed to this one. I think I'm not sure if it was the knee or not, but yeah, she was just back from injury as well, and that was one of the players that the manager had said after. But I know what you mentioned there, Joanne, about the equality, and we're all saying it's rosy and it's great to see players getting chances to play, but like, it's intercounty football at the end of the day. We kind of say like, oh, it might be a great step forward in one regards, and then all of a sudden it's 3 steps back when yourselves and Down and Roscommon have to play a game and there's no dugouts and whatever. I know some fingers are being pointed down. I don't think it's fair on them. I think they just looked at trying to get a venue to play the game. I think everyone wanted the game to be played. It's just look at the draw where you can get facilities. Maybe there just isn't enough facilities there that we can get. As we said about grass pitches, trying to get a grass pitch in this time of the year is very difficult. I've seen the Hogan Cup semi-final. They're putting 2 schools together on an astro pitch below in Limerick. There won't be a stand or nothing there for a big school semi-final, a massive day out for teams, and you're in the same regards playing top level intercounty games. So certainly on that front, it does feel like it's a couple of steps back from where it should be.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in that. Like, I know people be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, like, what are you complaining about? But like, the thing with like not having enough media coverage of ladies football equally means there's not enough kind of passionate supporters to do the complaining on behalf of teams, if that makes sense. So the teams and the players themselves have to be the ones to complain to make a change. And I know that sounds hilarious, but it's the exact same. I remember in AFLW as well, like, if something bad happened in an AFL men's game, it would be outrage among the supporters because they're so passionate, like, whereas because there wasn't enough media around the AFLW games, it was only really when if something went viral, or like the real backing of real loyal supporters threw up a strop, it would then be looked at, and I think sometimes yes, you might feel like you're constantly complaining, but like, literally, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So like, as much as it, yes, of course, we're getting the games played, it was played, the result's going to stand, but it doesn't mean you should just like, all right, it doesn't matter. Like, you're trying to change it for next year or the year after, that like when our like nieces or sisters are playing, that they don't have to worry about this crap whenever they're older, So yeah, it's just, I think you have to start somewhere.
So again, it could be something then that the counties turn up and go, do you know what it is? We'll put it into Congress that there must be a standard, there must be changing rooms, and there must be the dugouts, and there must be this and that. We all know, look, depending on the weather, yes, a men's game won't happen in 3G pitch. But if we want them done, we're going to have to until integration happens, and then we tell them go in 3G one week, and then the girls will get the grass or whatever. Pigs could be flying about there somewhere, like. But I think maybe you do get them to send that to Congress and say, look here, can we get a standard and get that okayed? But or maybe I've seen Murphy's are selling dugouts at the minute that are anti-scandal and all this stuff, like, so maybe he'll just get a bomb now from all these pitches that don't have dugouts.
I don't know. I think we could definitely do an episode anyway on just ranting about things, and if anyone does want to rant about anything, just reach out to us and we'll have a discussion on it on a podcast anyway. But Down did come out 112-2-6 winners there, but good result for Down, but obviously that was the main discussion point, obviously, from that game. Let's talk Antrim Fermanagh. Joanne is delighted to discuss it. And Antrim 4-10, Man at 2-10, and second week in a row, Joanne, 4 second half goals. Or sorry, 4 second half goals, I believe. Yeah, they got all the ones in the second half. But you did very well in the first half, and then the heavens opened and Antrim just absolutely hit top gear. Maria O'Neill with 2-4 there, Brona Devlin with a goal and a point, and I think Laura Agnew got one of their goals as well. So very strong performance from Antrim, and just not going the way that you would have liked from coming up to Division 3, Joanne, so far.
Yeah, can we continue talking about the no showers just and yeah, look, a very disappointing second half for us. Just again couldn't get a hold of the game. Antrim, like Emma mentioned earlier, like Antrim woke up with the rain in the second half. I think we were on the bus home at that point, but no, look, there was a few, obviously, one goal was one of them sloppy ones, slippy ones in over the head from a long range kick. There was, certain things that probably looking back, there was a lot of preventable things that we could have done. We knew the scoring threat of Maria O'Neill, and she really went to town on us when she got the opportunity. We were probably that wee bit too casual on the ball, especially when it was very slippy the second half, and when you have the likes of the Hansi and Brona Devlin and them girls that are able to I suppose the physicality of those girls to be able to match us, and we just weren't able to keep up with it. We probably came to life a wee bit the last 10 minutes, running at them a wee bit more and probably drawing those frees to try and lessen the blow, I suppose, of the scoreboard. But yeah, very disappointing from a Fermanagh point of view.
So good win for Antrim, and we'll move swiftly on from it. We won't dwell too much on it because
we forgot to mention about Joanne selling dummy to two of her own girls. So that was another one that they'd lost two girls in the warm up as well. So, but
yeah,
that was another talking point.
Bad day just for them.
She also got a point. So we give her well. Another good day for Louth elsewhere, just to wrap up the Division 3 games, winning 2-7 to 6 points against a very young and inexperienced Limerick side. Another positive day for Louth. Made a few changes, brought a couple of different players in, and just gave them a chance to get a couple of minutes into the legs and make a selection headache for managers. Kerry Nolan got a goal and a point, and Ciara Woods got a goal, and Sophie Everett got 4 points. So very strong performance, Emma, from the Louth perspective. They've kicked into gear now, and they've shown what they're well capable of. Still unbeaten, so we still have 3 teams unbeaten in Division 4 now going into this weekend's action. But all positives from last year's All-Ireland Junior winners.
Oh yeah, they're doing the right thing, as in they're picking the right games to try and breed the young girls in, to give them that bit of experience. And like Limerick, yes, are going through transition of very, very young, so you could kind of match them up then with some of the younger girls from Louth to give them that time on the pitch. But look, they still have Shannon McLaughlin, who's bursting up the pitch and getting scores, and Ciara Nolan is still fine about. So look, Louth probably were just going, you know what it is, we need to go and get the points on the board. We'll use it to try and bleed in a couple of the new girls, but at the same time, we need to try and get a big score tally, because if it comes to it that there is a stalemate at the top, which could well be, although Antrim still have to play Down and Louth, whereas they've already met others, so it could go elsewhere. But if it comes to the stalemate, it'll go to points difference. So Louth probably were looking at it in that side of it as well, like to just try and get more scores on the board. Look, Limerick, they're improving every game. You have to give it to that. Like before, they were lucky to get 1 point, whereas now they're starting to kind of form those kind of connections with each other and figure each other out. But maybe well, down in hell's not going to help them much, but it's just taking them a wee bit to get settled.
That's it. And just looking at the league table then after the weekend, Antrim, Louth and Down, first, second and third respectively, all on 10 points, score difference separating them as things stand. Roscommon in fourth, Laois in fifth and Clare in sixth. So Roscommon with 5 points, Laois with 4 and Clare with 3, Fermanagh with 2 and Limerick with none at the bottom of the table. On the fixture front then for this weekend, Fermanagh host Down at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Laois take on Roscommon, Limerick host Clare and Louth host Antrim. So that'll be a big game at the top end of the table, should I say, between Louth and Antrim. And then, of course, Clare can get a result against Limerick. They could further increase their hopes of safety. Laois, of course, playing Roscommon. That's another big game, which, Roscommon only 3 points away from Fermanagh at the 7th spot in the relegation zone as things stand. We'll give a quick run through Division 4 before we wrap up for this week. The usual suspects picking up results. We'll start first with Carlow continuing their unbeaten run. A 4-12 to 1-7 win against Derry. And while I suppose, Emma, we've spoken about the likes of Clean Shays had a really good couple of games. She only got a point this week, but the likes of Ava Kieran with 3-1, Sarah Doyle with a goal and 3 points, and then the likes of Adele Hayden, who we had on a few weeks back, she got a couple of points. Roisin Bailey got a few points, and Evie Webb got a few points. So good result for Carlow to pick up that 4-12 to 1-7 win against Derry. Derry had a couple of scores as well. Gemma Shivers getting a goal and a point there for them. But disappointment for Derry, but Carlow have continued the pace and all but confirmed now their place in a semi-final.
Yeah, look, we know the calibre of players that Carlow have, and it's not just the Clean and the Shay show. Like Sarah Doyle is class act, and look, if you didn't mention Adele's 2 points, she would never come back on again. So we'll have to say well done to that. But no, look, there were 370 a point up at half time, so they knew that they were going to coast it, and they were able to run players on and get other girls time and minutes. And Clean and the Shay is another Emma Doonan. She knows when to take herself out of the game and when to create the spaces for other people, and she will allow others to take the limelight, because she's probably thinking about, well, you know what it is, I want everybody else to gain their confidence and their shooting boots as well. So look, Carlow's sitting high and mighty, and it's, again, it could be the dead rubber game, them and Leitrim in the last game. It'll be interesting to see what to do in that one. Like,
yeah, very positive from the Carlow perspective, though. But equally, I suppose Leitrim, another high scoring result. Jesus, they've really put on the shooting boots in the last few weeks. A big result against Wicklow, 7-16 to just the 2 solitary goals there from the Wicklow perspective. Murren Devaney with 3 goals and 2 points. Leah Fox with a goal and 4, and Kate Gormley with a goal and 2. Vivian Egan a goal and 1, and they bring on Lucy Murphy from the bench to get them a goal as well, and to just have a plethora of scorers and a lot of experience. Joanne, and look, you've come up against Leitrim in this division last year. Like, they're a very strong team, and the way they've started, we said if it's not now, when for them to get out of the division, and they've done really well. They've only 2 games left now. They'll be looking to get a result away to Derry now this weekend, and then obviously that game against Carlow, that's kind of just going to determine who's going to finish top and who's going to finish second realistically in the table. But very impressive so far, you have to say.
Oh, very impressive. Like, I feel like every game they're treating as if it might come down to score difference and them clearly on the top of the table. But, they're really kind of showing through what they can do, and kind of slagging a man from my club, Paul Melanphy's in as forward coach now. Said the other day, I hear there's a real good forward coach about there. So I don't know what they're doing differently this year, but they're not messing around anyway. And yeah, look, I reckon, again, if not this year, then I would be question what is happening there if they don't get out of that division. But look at they're really kind of making their mark to whoever they come up against the semi-final. And it's going to be a tough game, and they seem to be really, like you said, enjoying their football, and the range of scores they have will only but build them full of confidence coming into the last few rounds.
Yeah, as I mentioned there, Kate Gormley got a goal and 2 points in that game. That makes it 3 goals and 11 points for the 20-year-old at her debut season with Leitrim this year. And I managed to catch up with her this week just to talk about her transition from college student in Limerick to now travelling up to Leitrim for training, and obviously putting on the county jersey just 2 years after watching Leitrim lift the intermediate All-Ireland title in Croke Park. Leitrim have been high-flying it in Division 4 with 5 wins from 5. I'm delighted to be joined by one of their newest recruits in the form of Kate Gormley, who has scored 311 in the campaign so far and picked up the Croke Park Hotel Player of the Month award for January. Kate, coming into the setup this year, obviously Leitrim have had some tough years in Division 4, just trying to make semi-finals and try and get promoted. Obviously, you've made the semi-final stage now. What's been the mood like in the camp since you stepped into for the very first time?
Well, Diarmuid, I suppose the mood in the camp, well, a lot of the older players would have been there for the past number of years, and they've been trying to get out of Division 4, and it kind of said, or one of them said, it kind of haunts them a bit. I suppose coming in, I don't have the hurt that they have in trying to get out of Division 4. But then you learn off them how it's not that easy getting out of Division 4, and that I suppose taking it one game at a time this year is a big thing we were doing, just taking it one game at a time and seeing how it goes. And thankfully we have got 5 wins out of 5 now, so hopefully keep it going.
Confidence is probably everything to a group, and like you said, you weren't there last year when the girls went through, I suppose, the league campaign and then the championship and the way that unfolded. But was it kind of they wanted to brush everything from 25 aside going in to learn that very quickly, that it was just right, we have a league campaign now and promotion is the aim of the game?
I'd say so, yeah. And like you said, their confidence is everything as well. I think last year they played Fermanagh first game, and I think that was a loss. And it does kind of deflate you a bit, in your first game being a loss. This year, I think the focus was just the first game and just get the first game out of the way and get a win on the board in the first game, and then keep it going then just game by game after that, and try and get a win game by game after that, one game at a time.
You played a lot of club football in Leitrim, and obviously have been involved with the underage Leitrim setups kind of coming all the way up. From your own perspective, was it a proud moment to get that call up to say, come into the squad for the first time this year?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really know what to expect or kind of what way it was going to go, but no, definitely, yeah. And it's I'm definitely happy I done it as well. Really enjoying it so far. So
because you've tallied 311, so you've been definitely just kicking on as every game has gone, and then obviously you get the call to say, you've been honoured with the Player of the Month award for January. Was that something that you just didn't think was going to happen? Having
I never even thought about that. I didn't have a clue. I was telling the girls that my mother thought it was a scam for a while until it actually happened as well. She didn't believe it at all. So I wasn't expecting it at all, but was delighted, yeah.
And how have you found, I suppose, game by game, naturally enough, as one of the scorers in chief so far, and there's plenty of them in that Leitrim team. Like you see what Murren did at the weekend in that Wicklow game. Obviously, you've been chipping in with the scores from those couple of games. You've had a lot of tough battles. The last 2 games have really, I suppose, with the way that Division 4 works, you always want to make sure that score difference will come into it as well. So you've had 2 very high scoring wins in a row, and I suppose from the forwards perspective as well, to be going out and scoring 1-2 like you did at the weekend, it's always good for your own confidence and your own game, just mentally, that you can prepare yourself for the next day out, having had a really good day the week prior.
It is. Obviously when you're forward, you like getting a few scores as well. There's a lot of other things though as well, off the ball, you have to get used to as well, when it's a different kind of setup, but definitely getting a few scores and contributing, to a few scores as well is a big thing.
You've been involved, I think, with your own club from maybe the age of 15, if not 16, playing in the big championships locally in Leitrim, so you'd be well used to the players that you're currently playing with in the Leitrim panel. But having played at such a young age at that level of club action, do you think that got you ready and prepared now for what you've done to make the step up to inter-county football for the very first time?
Obviously it's good to be playing in the big games in the county, like or up there at the big higher level, in the county. It does bring you on a lot, and it's good to also to play with some of the players now. You'll be playing against, like you said, Murren there was scoring. Like, it is good to be playing with them now and learning stuff like that from them as well.
And I'm sure they're great to lean on as well for information, like the likes of Murren Devani, Michelle Gucki, and Leah Fox. There's a lot of other players as well there that have soldiered with the team for the last few years. So I suppose a bit like the sponge of knowledge, you've kind of gone into the setup and kind of said, if there's anything, you have those players that you can talk to and just try and learn a few key details for your own game off them.
Yeah, no, definitely. The whole lot of them, like there's a load of them there, in the forward line. As you said, there's Murren, Leah, Gux, Alva. Like there's a load of them in the forward line, and you can definitely, if you watch them, you take a lot off them and you learn a lot off them, definitely. Yeah.
I know you're down in UL studying at the moment, and then you're going up to Leitrim for training during the week and then match days. How have you found that kind of in the last month or so of just being like, okay, I've had the college life and now it's the inter-county life, and you're trying to balance the two? It's a little bit crazy.
Yeah, I know. You do get used to the drive up and down, I suppose. I bring one other girl, Katie, comes up with me as well, so it's good to have a bit of company. I go home on a Wednesday and then I stay at home Wednesday night and go back up Thursday, so it's not all that bad, It's not the 6 hours driving in a row, like. But definitely a difference though than last year when you could do kind of whatever you wanted up here.
Obviously, you've match day now again this weekend. You're away to Derry, and then after that, it's the last game. So it's kind of one short spell into another. You're going from the Wicklow game last weekend, which was a very strong performance, to now away to Derry, and then obviously you've Carlow in the last game. So I suppose from your perspective, you'll want to try and pick up 2 more wins and keep this confidence going now for a semi-final and try and finally get over that line to get Leitrim promoted to Division 3.
Yeah, no, Derry this weekend and then Carlow the weekend after. They'll both be 2, I'd say, strong challenges, and one game at a time, as I said earlier. So Derry this weekend to be the first game and going up there and try and get a win and back on the road with a win from there, yeah.
So from your own perspective, like you would say 2024, when it came to championship season and All-Ireland final day, you were sat inside in the stand watching Leitrim beat Tyrone that year, and now 2 years later, you're in the setup involved with Leitrim, involved with those players now that you would have seen or watched growing up as well. So do you get an awful lot of pride when you put on the Leitrim jersey to now be one of those players that are flying the flag even for the next generation of Leitrim girls that are going to come through?
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely special, every time you put it on, and it is a privilege to put it on, and then sharing the dressing room, what you said, like I was in Croke Park watching it that day and it was class, and then sharing the dressing room with, a few of them girls now and learning from them, it all is like it's a good experience.
Perfect, Kate. Listen, thanks very much for coming on the Ladies Gaelic Podcast this week, and best of luck with the long commute from Limerick to Leitrim this week, and obviously the trip to Derry and then back the following week and everything like that. But very thankful for you to come on this week.
Thanks very much, Joanne. Thank you.
So one more game just to discuss. Of course, the game between Offaly and Longford fell ill of the weather over the weekend. So just the last game to discuss. Sligo with a very comprehensive win over Kilkenny, it has to be said, in the end, 8-24 to just the goal from the Kilkenny perspective. Ellen Giblin with 2 goals and 4, Sarah Feeney with 2-2, Ciara Walsh with 2 goals, Denise McGrath with a goal and 2, Aoife Harron with a goal and 2, Sinead Regan kicking 5 points, Lauren Normally with 4, and then Ciara Gorman, Nikki Brennan, Anna McDaniel, Cara King and Sarah Cunny all scoring there for Sligo. loads of scores to rattle off the tongue there. Plenty of encouragement for Sligo. They played a lot of players for the first time in this Kilkenny game just to give them a little bit of experience in the league. But very impressive stuff, Emma, has to be said, from Sligo. And just, I suppose, get confidence into these players. They're sitting third place in the table, but like you've seen the plethora of scores and the way that those players took them. So they can have plenty of confidence now going into these last 2 games to try and solidify a semi-final spot for Sligo.
Yeah, look, Sligo have been getting better game on game. And as we said, look, Kilkenny, we hate being mean each time and saying, look, they're the team that other teams are going to say, do you know what it is? We're going to run our team. We're going to try out new players, and we're just going to use it for confidence. But like Sligo, Offaly, Longford are all fighting for the 3rd and 4th position. And as we said before, those teams are going to use Kilkenny to try and build up the scoring difference, because if it comes down to the wire, you don't want to turn around and say, I wasn't ruthless in front of Kilkenny because I felt bad or whatever. So that ruthlessness was good, but having 12 scores is also brilliant for Sligo. So it means all those girls are gaining a bit of confidence, a bit of experience at this level too. And it means then that when they come on in the next game, are they able to push on because they've did that? But Sligo were motoring rightly, and if they don't finish 3rd or 4th, they would be really disappointed. And see, to be fair, Leitrim and Carlow will be keeping an eye on Sligo too. They'll be noticing that they're getting better by each game. So they could be the team that, you know what, they could be going, well, if they're sitting in 3rd, I want to finish top. That the last game they are going, you know what it is, we need to fucking win this here, to get top. We want to avoid Sligo. So it could come down to the team that's building momentum, who they want to avoid. But the scoring difference could be key in getting 3rd or 4th position here, especially because we didn't know how the Offaly Longford game was going to figure that out. So.
And because that game has to be rescheduled, that game will have to be played after we have round 6 and round 7. Round 6 is obviously this weekend, round 7 is the weekend after. So
squeaky bum time for somebody.
It's going to be interesting with the way that game goes. You look at the league table now, obviously Leitrim and Carlow are delighted. Leitrim topping the table, Carlow in second, both with 15 points, have done really, really well to date. Then you have Sligo in 3rd with 9 points. Offaly remain 4th, of course, didn't play this weekend, on 6. And Longford in 5th, also on 6 points. You've Derry in 6th with 3rd with 3 points. You've Wicklow in 7th with 3 points. And then Kilkenny bring up the bottom of the table. Obviously, Derry have a home tie with Leitrim this weekend on Sunday at 2:00. Kilkenny host Wicklow, Longford host Carlow, and then Sligo take on Offaly at 2:00. A lot of games there with plenty of subplots. Longford definitely need to get a result against second place Carlow to keep their place up for trying to solidify a top 4 spot with that game to come with Offaly. But then of course Offaly have a trip to Sligo, and if Sligo can win that, you might think that's it. They're definitely guaranteed it. But Offaly get that result, maybe Longford get a result, it could push Sligo out.
A lot of maybes there. So basically,
there's a lot of maybes everywhere. But God only knows. We've seen a fairly frantic week of action across the divisions. God only knows what's going to happen in the divisions this weekend. We'll start the weekend at the end of February and we'll end it at the start of March. So we'll have to see what way things pan out. But that's been our 5th episode of our Ladies Gaelic podcast here on Final Whistle. My thanks to Emma and Joanne for plenty of debates and plenty of chats and going through all the games, the key results and everything like that. Fixtures could change again as the week progresses, so keep an eye on our website and the LGFA's one as well for any venue changes and fixtures and times and all that shebang. But my thanks to the 2 girls. We hope you've enjoyed another hour and 30 odd minutes of us rambling on about everything to do with the little ladies leagues, and we hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next week for another episode.